all of this overcomplicated rhetoric, overthinking, words, excessive talking, I just want to orgasm. My name is Asha Sekhmet, and welcome to my channel. Today, I am going to bring you a little bit more into my soul, into my world, how I think. So let's talk about, I saw this post. Woman says millennial women were encouraged by their parents to be more independent and wait to have a family, but now society shames them for it. As you all know, I'm a thought leader. I do work in polygamy. My purpose in life is to create this community, this sovereign community of water people and water culture, right? Tantra, polygamy, becoming one with the creator. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today, but it's interesting seeing where the current society is going when I'm on social media and I'm seeing all these conversations, particularly with Black Americans and family dynamics, who did what wrong and what generation, what the women were taught, who did what, this men versus woman clashing, right? I just want to say that a lot of these conversations are very repetitive to me, and they're not offering alternative solutions. It's just excessive talking and overcomplication. So I just want to share how I approached life. I put a comment there because I'm like, I heard her speaking in the video and I'm like, I was raised exactly the same way. I am a Gen Z though, but I was raised the exact same way. Literally. I said, I was taught this and did the complete opposite of everything I was taught. The journey of self-mastery and becoming your own God. Now, I took detours, I took things, I did certain things, and I spent it and made it my own. So I'm gonna explain what that means. It didn't look like one linear path, right? Life doesn't happen that way. I'm not perfect, right? I make mistakes and you learn through mistakes, which is awesome. I love making mistakes. That's great. That's experience. Experience is experimentation. So what I did was I did go to college. There was a comment that I also want to bring in because it's going to tie to what I feel is relevant in this conversation, the most relevant. A lot of Black families were poor, so they sent you to school so the family could have some opportunity. This is the story of a lot of first generation students. They weren't tripping off relationships, which I don't agree with. I do think they were tripping off relationships, definitely. Projecting worries, fears, and trauma onto their children and offspring. And they were worried about survival. That is true. I think it's both. They were worried about survival and they were also projecting their own perceptions of relationships on their offspring. They're just teaching what they know, right? That's what happened. So that is true. I grew up in poverty. I grew up in Detroit, low income class. The primary reason that I grew up in poverty was because I grew up in a dysfunctional polygamy family structure disguised as monogamy. Let me explain what that means. I have 11 siblings, half siblings. There's baby mothers, baby daddies. You know, my birth mother has other children, my other men outside of my father. My father has other children outside of my mother. That is dysfunctional polygamy. Obviously, that's going to put you at a certain economic status that's going to be difficult to get out of if you are operating as an individualistic family, Like that's a survival unit. That's not a family, right? You're surviving together, right? My mother's one woman. The women are all separate. Okay. So my father did have a college degree. I actually come from a family on my dad's side who are educators and who are have a lot of education. However, I was still in that same predicament, that the opportunity that presented itself, because they were workers, so that's all they knew how to do. They all they knew how to do: go to college, get married, work until you die. That was the model. That's all they knew. They didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. They didn't know anything about generational wealth. And that the opportunity that presented itself for me, because I didn't know any other opportunities at that time. Like I didn't know anyone or had access to understand how to create your own LLC or what my purpose was to even do that to begin with. I didn't know any of that information. I wanted to be a doctor. Like I knew I just wanted to heal people. That's just it. So the only opportunity that I knew to take was to go to a college institution, because I knew if I did that, then I could at least get the opportunity to meet the right people to put me on the right path, right? But that was only for that time that I did that. Right now, college degrees are obsolete. They've already been saying that over the last decade, right? Getting more into the wealth consciousness and amongst people who are really building generational wealth. This is what I was reading and started to understand. One of the primary figures that I followed for wealth consciousness and understanding business mindedness and entrepreneurship was Robert Kiyosaki and his wife Kim Kiyosaki. So I followed them, and the reason that I followed them is because their mission, as they state, is to elevate the financial well-being of humanity. I thought that was very powerful, and I felt like it was coming from a place of spirit. So I followed them because of that. It didn't feel like it was coming from a place of chasing money. And even when you're reading the book, his books particularly, now that I know him personally, when I was reading his books particularly, you're in the mind of someone and you're going through the experiences of what they're talking about in their books. So I just appreciated the journey, the story, and the things that he shared. And I do think that he is authentic. So that's me though, right? Everyone has their own opinions and can follow whoever works for their journey. I'm just talking about what worked for me. So for me, that's what I use. So as I was, and that happened after college. And the route that I took was, when I was in college, I got married with a Black man, and I left college with a Black man and made a promise to myself I was never going back into an institution, because I realized what it was for. It's designed to create workers. That's what they're designed for. And I would not ever not advise someone to go to it or not. It's your personal choice, right? People have different perspective, different pathways. I'm talking about for me though, after I got done with it and I came out with a Black man, I did everything opposite of what my family told me to do in that sense, right? Because I did go to college like they told me to, because that was all they knew. But I did do the opposite in terms of my life path. Because when I got into college, that's when I was just with myself. So if I was just with myself, I have no other opinions of other people in my ears. And I'm just following my intuition and what I'm actually desiring, which is a family. So if I'm desiring a family and a marriage and a community, then that reality is just being brought to me, whether I know it or not. I'm going through the classes and I'm doing what I need to do. I did very well academically, and I did what I said I was going to do. I did have a full ride scholarship. I made sure that I maintained my GPA above 3.5. Like I made sure that I was very serious about taking the most out of that experience because my father helped me get to that place in my life. So I took that serious and I wanted to honor that. And I was getting a biology degree and I was doing pre-med. So that's very serious. And obviously that's more rigorous because it's in the STEM education. So I was very serious about that. But on the other side of it, what I was really longing for was just to get my family out of poverty. Like I didn't like what I was seeing. Like I didn't like the situation I was born into. I wasn't comfortable with that. Like I'm not comfortable with living a certain type of way. I wasn't comfortable with that. So I wanted to find a pathway or some opportunity to get my family in a better quality of life, not in survival, not in trauma, not in recreating children in trauma and choosing the wrong partners. So I wanted to find out, how can I get my family out of this environment? So a part of me felt like it was kind of on me. So that was the route I took. And in that, I'm radiating that to the universe, and the universe brought me a Black man that I would then be in a marriage with and then move on the rest of my life with out of college. Because after I was done with college, I decided that I would not go to medical school because I did a lot of research. During that time, my 4 years of college, I was studying knowledge of self. I read a lot of books. That was the most time of my life I've ever read so much, learned so much information. I was not on social media. I was very hard, deep in books. So I was just, that's it. So all I did, even for fun, if I did something for fun, it was with my partner. Me and him we went on dates. That's what I did for fun. I wasn't going to parties and I wasn't around like a lot of people. I went to class, me and him studied together, and I had study groups, and then we went on dates and I spent time with him. So that was how my college experience went. And it was just based on intuition. And it's not saying that I'm perfect. Like I'm not perfect. I'm just saying that I'm just moving on intuition. Like if there's something that I'm really not okay with in life, then that's what's going to motivate me to create a better reality. Like I don't get comfortable in something that I'm not okay with. So I'm gonna continue to try to learn and get more information so that I can make better life choices to improve the quality of my life. So that's why I had chose to do that. And ultimately, from that, I graduated, and then that's when I was introduced and started my initiations with Tantra and polygamy. So I actually found my purpose through working through a Black man, because I knew that under no circumstances would I ever marry or be intimate with any other man than a Black man. I knew that. And particularly I was very interested more in a Black American man, because we share our story, right? So I was looking for that, because relationships and connections for me on a marriage and family level is very deep and very soul connected. So that is just how I naturally move in life. Like I do things based on meaning and purpose. So I wanted to find a Black man like that. So we met in our physics class, and then from there I chose him, and I said he would be my husband. And then from there, after I graduated, I actually did Teach for America. He instructed me to actually do this because at that point, I just wanted to find an opportunity for us together. We were trying to build a new life, because he was also going to go into medical school and decided not to. He actually got accepted into one of a very high NYU medical school at that time, doing very well, and scored in the 90 percentile on his MCAT. So he was also doing very well. And we both had decided to opt out of that pathway and to go and start a spiritual path. So that was the route that we took. So he instructed me to do Teach for America. So I did Teach for America, And once I was able to get the opportunity, I wanted to use that for us to transition into our new life of spirituality and how this would look like what this would manifest into. So the intent was he picked a place that would help him with his startup company. So I listened to him, and that's where we moved so that I could help him as I'm working. And I have doing a Teach for America. We're transitioning. They give you money to help you transition. He was working on his startup company, and the intention was to put me out of work once he has his company up and going, so then I can make an earning off of my purpose. So that's what the entire mission was about. Because again, I came from a family of working people. That's it. There's no ownership truly in my family. So I did the Teach for America experience, and then through that, I was going through my initiations. And I connected the experiences that I had. So what I want to say is, well, all of these conversations that actually is going on, about what was the right way and how to do that, or what we should have told our women, or I just don't care about the past. It's the past. I do not care about comparing what the men were taught versus what the women are taught. This is where I am with my development today. I thought about a lot of that over the years, and that's why I made the choices I did with choosing to do polygamy and Tantra. But where I'm at today, it's not useful to me. I don't even want to be considered Black anymore. Like that's a color. That's not even a nationality. I want a nationality. So I just tossed that out. I do not care about what other races of women were taught versus what I was taught. I don't care. I use my own brain computer and experiences from my college experience and adult experiences in the real world. I collected data to make life choices based on my intuition. That's what I did. Okay, so that kind of ties in more into what I'm saying in that comment. I did the complete opposite. Obviously, like I said, I did go to college, but ultimately I chose a path of continuing to learn knowledge of self so I can master my own self, know my own soul. That's the pathway I took. So with this, it radiates and brought me to what I was truly seeking, because I'm a truth seeker. I just wanted to know the truth. That's all I wanted to know. I just wanted to know what was true, what was real and what was fake. And basically what I realized is that I was just tired of being a slave. All of these were just transitions into some form of slavery to me. And no matter what way I looked at it, I love that in this day and time, women have freedom of choice. I love that. I wouldn't want it any other way. I do not believe women should not have a right to make their own choices in their life, and that their life is predetermined for them. I don't agree with that, because we have free will, right? Women have free souls, living souls, just like all other human beings and men on the planet. We do. So I looked at it as just tired of being a slave. I'm no matter which way I tried to look at it, racism, religion, classism, they're all forms of enslavement. No matter which way that you try to do it, the fact that we have to constantly use words to label things and put things in boxes is a part of the human experience, but that in and of itself is an enslavement, depending on where you are in your spiritual evolution. So for me, that's what it felt like. It's just confinement. The deeper I connected with my soul, the more I realize that that is the ultimate truth about this experience. And I've watched videos and I've also read information about all faiths having some concept or knowing of this reality being some type of matrix. Like, what does that even mean, right? Because it's not that it's not real. It's just that it's just not, it appears what it doesn't appear of what it actually is, right? That's the part of the human lessons. Like, you come to earth because it's a school. You're here to learn life lessons so that you can evolve. That's why we're all here. So we're experiencing the human experience as living souls. So that made sense to me. And basically I had been reincarnating enough that I just came to all these realizations because I just had so much time like reincarnating here. So it's not that I'm perfect or that everything I'm saying is just and just right. It's just that my soul is very old. It's been reincarnating for a very long time on this planet. I came here specifically. I'm from the dark matter realm before I was a human, and I came here specifically to teach Black women how to be women, what it means to be a female human, and the superior aspect nature of being a female human. That was my purpose. That was my mission. That's why I'm here. So I have been doing that in so many incarnations, and that's why, and the soul collects the information over time. So you continue, when you go over through in each lifetime, you have the information is there. It's in your DNA. It doesn't leave you, right? So that information was there. So in this incarnation, I was tasked to build the community of the alternative path, right? So there's consequences to life choices, right? So if you make life choices and then you go in the next life and you have to learn and relearn the lessons, and you keep relearning them until you get them, and then you can graduate like school. So that's kind of what the situation is, when you're evolving your soul. So for me, I had made life choices in previous lifetimes that had consequences that tied me into being born into poverty in this incarnation. So that's actually how it works, but it's meant to connect you back to your soul. So pain is just, unfortunately, a symptom of the hard lesson so that you learn, right? But the creator itself is pure love. So it's not that it wants to punish us or torture us. Like that's what religion teaches. Some, and some religious doctrine may have these concepts of a wicked God or those things, but that's not the creator though. So the creator that created the entire universe and us is a pure love. It's the frequency of pure love. It's a higher form of love, right? It's not like a child-like love. But I remember one day when I was in Detroit, my hometown, and I actually was going through a flower blossom, and I was looking at these posts and I was just reading them. And one of the posts was saying how if the soul never experienced suffering in this world, how would it ever desire to go back wherever it came from? Like at some point, you have to leave, because that's just a law. So you have laws that govern this reality. You have laws that govern the universe. That these are just what they are. They're laws. So in this lifetime, I was meant to master that to a certain level because I had so much time going through so many incarnations to understand the laws of the universe. So the laws, one of the laws that we're talking about is cause and effect. That's cause and effect. For every action, there's a reaction. You don't just go through life and then like that would defeat the purpose. There's another law of vibration. Everything in the universe is vibrating. Even atom, nothing stops moving. Everything is always in motion. You don't stay still. So if you were to go in a lifetime and you just made choices and then like you just go through life, then you're just standing still. Like you're not learning, you're not changing, you're not evolving. And there's no just fixated one way. There isn't. That's not how life works. There's curves, there's dips, there's tricks. You go back, you go forward. That's how change actually works. And so where I'm at today, when I read that post, it made sense to me where I didn't have to look at it as hard as the lesson was for me to have been born in poverty and to not have a culture, to not have a nationality, to be born in an enslavement class in America, and my ancestors being enslaved and taken from Africa. This is my story. I don't know about other people. That's my story. I confirmed it. My ancestors were taken from Africa and brought to the Americas through chattel enslavement, through the transatlantic slave trade. They were deported as property and brought here. That's how I'm here. So I am a descendant of that. Okay, so I was born and I read Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. That was a great book I read to give me more clarity on what was going on with my family dynamics. Because I would be going to sleep and I was in Africa and I would be waking up and I'm in America and I'm speaking this language. And I'm like, why am I talking like this? Why do I look like this? And why am I here? This doesn't feel right. I never felt like I was home. I never felt that way. But it was a deeper lesson in the experience and saying that Earth isn't even my home. Like I'm not even supposed to be here. So, it was a lesson meant to connect me back to my soul, right? And when I read that post, it made me have a better understanding of, in order for us to connect back to our soul, we have to get homesick, right? We have to get homesick. So suffering and pain do exist on this planet for those reasons. And then I was tasked, right? Okay, it's time for me to exit, right? This was all prophesized. It's prophecy. So it's time for me to exit, and those who also choose the same path, because we all have free will. The people who look like me, water people. So I was tasked with the Maji sister wife tribe, and the ultimate goal of our tribe is, well, let me do a quick story time. I was doing all of this. Well, the ultimate goal of the Maji sister wife tribe is to transcend humanity. You no longer are impressed with this world. You're ready to leave. You complete your incarnation cycles. You transcend what it means to be human. You've learned it, you've lived it, and now you're ready to move on. You graduate from being an earthling. You return back to your spirit home. Okay? So, this quick story time. I actually was connecting with particularly Black men on my journey who I thought had the same intention in life. Like they are like, this is my last lifetime. I'm ready to do this. I don't like being human. I don't like eating, pooping, sleeping, and just taking care of this body just to exist here and live mundane, live normal, be normal. Like these Black men that came to me, they were saying that they want a spiritual ascension. They want to live an extraordinary life. But it was a lesson for me to learn that people can say one thing because you may have a thought of what that may look like. But the truth of what that truly looks like is to be your most authentic self in a world that tell you to be everything other than that. That is living extraordinary. Living extraordinary is not material. So if you're chasing materialism, that's actually what it means to live mundane. And I've learned to just release emotions towards someone who wants to live a path like that, because I can't have emotions towards a human having their own individual free will. I was coming from a passionate place, of course, but I don't have emotion towards it because I don't know where that person came from. Even though he's a Black American man, that doesn't mean that we came from the same place before we were earthlings. I don't know who he is truly or where he comes from. A part of it, my frustration was just, why aren't you like me? But I had to release that because I'm like, well, they may not come from where I come from. Not even people that was born in my bloodline may come from where I come from. And those are deep inner workings that I had to change about myself, to feel no emotions towards people choosing those life paths, even if it doesn't align with what I can see as the vision, then that's okay. When you are willing to transcend humanity, that means that you are willing to do whatever it takes to evolve. So you're here. That means you reincarnate in your particular race for a reason. We're grouped for a reason. So I'm here to help water people. That's how I help humanity. You reincarnate as what you are for a reason. The Creator didn't make no mistake on me. The Creator didn't make a mistake of me being a water woman who was born in America. That didn't work that way. The Creator didn't make a mistake on my hair, my skin color, my eye, like that. None of that. No. It doesn't matter what the external world tells me. I can look inward and know that I was created in the image of the Most High. So I have a purpose. And regardless of what anything is telling me, I have this inside of me. And I know that. That's my guiding force. It's right here. So when I say I'm willing to do whatever it takes, polyamory, selflessness, community, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get free. Because I want to be free, right? And this is why I'm essentially such a wild card and unpredictable. And I cannot be put into labeled boxes, because that's really what my soul is. Like if you strip me of what my soul actually is, I'm a wild card. Meaning, oh, she's vegan or she's plant-based, but in this 1 year out of the 7 years, she ate sushi. So is she pescatarian? No, I'm none of those. I don't identify as any of those. Is she polygynous? Where, okay, she started talking about sisterhood and this being a way to solve Black community problems of single motherhood and us not competing and sharing husband because there's a shortage of viable Black husbands. Right? Is she polygynous or is she polyamorous? I'm not a label. And those are not communities. That's not a nationality. Those are family structures. You can work with a correlation of all of them, or whatever the family structure would look like. You couldn't even, how I perceive what is right for me, you couldn't even put a name to it. Like, it would look so alien to a Western person, like a modern West, like person who is like in a white culture. It would look very alien to them, because the way that they do family and group economics is different than a water person. So it would look alien. So if you're a water person and you live in America, you are in a white territory. You're in a place that is another people's culture. There is other groups, of course, indigenous people and other people who are here, who were here before, who still have their own jurisdiction and their way of life that is protected and is private. But if you were a descendant of an enslaved ancestors who lost their culture and nationality, then you have to go back and rediscover that and create something new. If we're using our enslaved ancestors' masters' language. We're using their language. So why would their language teach you about poly? That doesn't make sense. That's what I was saying about, I use my own brain computer to develop my own conclusions in life. Research requires critical thinking, meaning that you can gather information and then you can derive your own conclusions based on lived experiences, understanding things about racial differences of thinking and thought, cultural differences. You can develop your own thought process. That's a freedom thinker. That means that your mind is free. So I just wanted to talk about that. And then the other part is a Black woman. Who told me I was that? And when you look anywhere about what it means to be a Black woman in America, there's a lot of negativity and labeled boxes attached to that has nothing to do with my soul. It has nothing to do with me being a water person. It has nothing to do with water culture. So I don't cling on to that. And then, though I do have non-negotiables, so my non-negotiables is I am a heterosexual woman and I follow natural law. That's just nature. I follow the laws of nature. Those are my non-negotiables. That's it. Anything else is up for grabs, right? At one point, I was doing polygyny, and then all the misogynists came out the bag, and I said, there's no way. And then I was instructed, because I received my instructions from the Most High, because I'm living truly in my purpose, which is my purpose to create this community, which is to change this. This word is now here. So use this word, polyamory. It just means non-possessive relationships, because that is a requirement for actually building a sovereign community. That is a requirement. It would be for my community. There's other communities out there, but the community that I'm building, like to transcend humanity and like this level of spiritual evolution for my community, we would have to practice polyamory, non-possessive marriages. It's the only way. It's the only way to actually execute this, of completing incarnation cycles and then returning back to our spirit homes. And then that's it. And that's what I'm ultimately after. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you all. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. You can talk about some of your experiences. If any of this resonated with you, especially if you're a Black American woman and you feel some of how I feel, just put it in the comments, because I'll just say it like I have said before. I'm tired of having the conversations. I'm tired of talking. I just want to orgasm.